elderly Marlene Ashburn, a widow with a young daughter. "How about this weather?" Horace, editor of the local newspaper, was examining his bullet-shaped head critically in the hand mirror Joe Jr. had handed him. "Weatherman says it's supposed to warm up tomorrow." Joe Jr. put his foot on the pump to lower the chair so Horace could stand up. "Good thing," Horace said, digging for his wallet. "We'll have a power outage for sure if this keeps up." He handed the barber 2 bills. "Here you go. Next time I'm having that pretty little assistant you got to do my hair. Where is she, anyway?" "I let Ginny stay home because of the weather." Joe Jr. put the money in the cash drawer. "She can cut your hair all right, but you'd better not ever let her hear you calling her my assistant. She's a fully certified hairstylist and a feminist to boot. She'll yank out what little hair you got left if you patronize her. Step up, Jackson. Shampoo?" Jackson shook his head. "Washed it this morning. Just give me a trim." "Fair warning," Horace said. He sat and watched as Joe Jr. trimmed Jackson's hair. "Hey, Jackson, what's going on over at the courthouse? This is one hell of a slow news week." Jackson, who was county judge of PostOak County, thought a minute. A light note crept into his voice. "There's a leak in the roof. Last time it rained, it got the county clerk's computer all wet. Fortunately, no damage was done. That help any?" "You know it doesn't, Jackson. I need real news. Anybody in jail I ought to know about?" Jackson thought a minute. "Edna's found the Lord. She's decided not to cuss anymore." Edna Buchanan was Jackson's foul-mouthed secretary. "Now that would be news," Horace grinned, "if it were true." Joe Jr. was finishing up Jackson's haircut. He brushed his shoulders with the soft brush. "I pity you, Horace. Trying to run a paper in this town is a losing proposition. Nothing ever happens worth reporting." "You sure have got that right," Horace agreed. He suddenly chuckled and pointed to the window. "Would you look at that? Old Rip's done gone ass over tea kettle." Sure enough, Rip Clark, portly proprietor of the Wagon Wheel Cafe, had lost his footing and was sitting on the icy sidewalk, trying to figure out how to gain enough traction to stand up. The 3 men stood at the window, watching curiously while Rip tried one maneuver after another to get back on his feet. His mouth was moving, and they could only wonder what obscenities were spewing out of it. Finally, Jackson took pity on him. He pushed open the door and approached Rip, treading gingerly on the ice. Wrapping one arm around one of the old-fashioned lampposts the Main Street Committee had erected along the sidewalks, he leaned forward and extended one hand to help Rip. Rip grasped the hand and struggled to gain a foothold on the ice. He almost made it, but his feet slipped out from under him again and he sat down again hard on the ice. "It ain't gonna work, Jackson," Rip growled. "I reckon I'll be sitting here on this goddamn sidewalk until the goddamn stuff melts." He made an obscene gesture in the direction of the 2 grinning faces in the barbershop window. Jackson, not being able to think of a response to that, stood holding the lamppost and trying to figure out a solution to the problem. Finally, with a nod of his head, he began to inch himself carefully back to the barbershop. He opened the door and picked up the rubber mat off the floor, then turned and slid it across the ice toward Rip, who caught it and immediately began to manipulate his body until he was seated on the mat. Then, with great care, he got to his feet. Joe Jr. stuck his head out the door. "Come on in here, pal," he called. "I just made some fresh coffee." Inside the barber shop, Rip took a seat on the shoeshine bench while the barber went to fetch the coffee. Rip, an old Navy man, was wearing a soiled apron and a white sailor's cap, also soiled, on his head. "Anybody else?" Joe Jr. yelled from the back room. "I'll take a cup." Jackson pulled a Don Diego cigar out of his pocket and sniffed it appreciatively. "Me too," said Horace. "Hey, Rip, don't you ever take that apron off? I'll bet you sleep in the damn thing." Rip pretended not to hear. Jackson and Horace seated themselves in the chairs along the wall and waited until Joe Jr. came back with fragrant mugs of hot black coffee. "Hope you guys don't take cream or sugar," he said. "I don't keep the stuff." He took a seat in the front barber chair facing the others. "Hey, Jackson," he sipped his coffee. "I sure appreciate you letting the young'un practice that horn of hers over at your house. She's a good kid, but she was about to drive us to drink with that thing." Joe Jr.'s stepdaughter, Ashley, 14, played French horn in the middle school band, as did Jackson's daughter, Patty. "No problem," Jackson said. "The girls practice up in Patty's room. I can't hear a thing." The truth was, Jackson was more than